start our chart room. We're going to start with TOSHI. Remember, TOSHI, guys, is a crypto that has lots of accumulation in the initial steps. When this crypto was coming down before the move was into health, a large money came into TOSHI. So remember, TOSHI is a very powerful crypto. We also see that at the tops, when price was at its high, we can see that volume, that the profit taking that was done at the very high was not in balance with all the buying. This was not in balance with all the buying that had been taking place. At the very least, this area here. We can see it's a very deep out of balance move, which means that most of the players are still in TOSHI. Okay? All right. We looked at it with our foundational view, which is we're focusing on the larger energy centers in this area. Remember, if you're not using logarithmic, turn on your logarithmic view. It really helps. Logarithmic is going to be found just below me in the settings. Right here, move your mouse to the lower right hand corner, and then you're going to click the settings button and make sure logarithmic is on. You may also have the A and L button. A is for automatic, that means automatic chart updating, and L for logarithmic. So I like to have that logarithmic. And what logarithmic does is it filters out in the percentages, or the percentage of the actual skew, how much movement. It filters out, instead of putting so much importance on anything above $1, you often miss the strongest buyers that came in because you're not looking at the view in its proper balanced form. You're actually it's when you look at the earth from a fisheye view, everything looks round. Even up close, things look really round. It's called a fisheye lens. If you're not familiar with fisheye lens, it's the same type of thing that happens in the market when you're only viewing the market without logarithmic, okay? Although some people in our community have said that USDT.D is probably better in regular view, I'm still not convinced personally. All right, now we see health came into TOSHI in a few different areas. There's not much more to discuss about TOSHI except that these areas are positive areas. We're still within the strong foundational area. In my opinion, we have more likely to come to the top side. In addition to all of that, if we were viewing the last energy centers being along this track, we want to confirm it with the higher time frame. So I'd go to maybe a weekly chart. The weekly chart, this area, this angle could come down maybe about right there to these cores, and where they're at basically right now, the highest from last week, and that candle is now set in. So we have a more tighter move. If we're looking at the flats, we can say that price is building above these old flats here. These are about approximately right there, and you can see that the candles broke up in the week of September 15th and have been trying to sit down and build upon these areas. Although currently we're underneath, it's showing the signs of cracking in this top. We might be looking higher. If we're concerned about how high we may actually go, the angle gives us this here, and then we have our mid-phantom section here. So those mid-phantom prices are going to get us somewhere about, price note, somewhere up here. One of the other things we can do, and that's going to be 00229. Currently price is 0007, so we got 3 zeros. We may be looking to lose a 0. I'm not looking for TOSHI to do anything spectacular today. I'm not looking for that, but this shakeout here was a very good close. We got a long wick on top, long wick on bottom, but still above in the healthier zone. Shakeouts are often continuation indicators, and so we have more odds and we're going to be going up. If we're looking at the volume, we can see that there's still a lot of volume to the top side. We should be gravitating towards the top side at the challenges. So that might be something we might be looking at to do. The other things we might look at now, after all of that's done, is going to be the cracking or the health that may come in at the top of this area. So now let's go a little bit smaller. We're going to go to let's see. Ooh, look at that flat. Should probably be on this higher time frame. Look at this. I'm going to adjust this and label this. We're going to bring it down a hair lower, stretch it out a little bit longer. There we go. To adjust for these cores in these areas. And I'm going to label this on the left side. And I'll type in this word. It already has the flat weekly keyword, but we're going to move it to the left, to the top. And I'm going to put now 2 week instead of just weekly. We're just going to add 2 week. 2WK. So you guys remember, and that's about the range. So this is a good close. Last week it was a great close in the last 2 week session, which is about half a month. And right now we got 4 more days for this next candle. If we can get a close above 0.075, that might be a good season for this to start breaking out, and we may be starting to think higher. One of the things we can do after this, we can DP a few areas. I don't know if I'm going to DP this flat here right now. I may want to DP the larger oscillation, but what we're going to do and what that might look like is once we start playing in these areas, one of the things we like to do is identify our oscillation. That means price playing back and forth. The problem is we only hit once. We don't really have another verified oscillation. If we are oscillating, when we break to the top side, all we do is duplicate the exact same distance from the initial oscillation and put it into the sky. As it is right now, that means if we were to bring it to this lowest energy center within the flat, which is the highest area, we might be looking to place it about right here. And that's going to be about halfway both. And you can measure this more accurately by simply drawing a line into about those areas, and this is going to be called a measure line. We're just using this to measure that distance and place it on top, and I might use this one at a base minimum. So right now I might be looking at something like that, and then the numbers for that is going to be 0.0022. Now with all that said, that's going to tell us about how much money we might be looking on the board, and the money that might be on the board. From this, we're going to use the measure tool, and I'm just going to take from current price, which is a little bit down here, up to there. That's closer to 196. So that's 196%. If price can break out to the high side, we might be looking for there before we start seeing some real resistance and profit taking based on the buyers that came in back then in their next psychological move. So that might be something we'll be looking at. I don't know if I'm going to bring that DP all the way down to here right now, even though there may be a bottom in that area. I don't know if I trust that just yet, because it's outside of the flat to the adjacent. If I use the adjacent, sometimes I'll use it if that's all there is, or if I don't have anything else. But for the most part, I don't like to use an adjacent unless I have some reason to use it or some kind of clue that I should be looking at it. All right, so I'm going to take a screenshot of that, and then we got the daily chart, and that'll be the last thing I'll show you, and I'll move on because we got some things to teach today in class. I got the daily chart, and we're hitting here twice. We want to see higher volume on the second time up. I don't see that second high volume, but it's still aggregately high in this area, so there's still a lot of energy to the top side. And I think that's about almost I want to say, apart from this oscillation here. We'll do the DP of this oscillation. That's one we can verify. It's based on this parabolic and the same parabolic on top. It is there, so we're just going to duplicate that distance and DP. And since they level out approximately in here, we may want to use this both flats and just duplicate the flat distance. It's going to be about right there somewhere. Okay, so that's one way we can do it, and I will take my measuring line once more. Take one of those flats. We're going to take the measuring line, put it in the sky, and then we'll move on. All right. So this is all I got for you for the map of TOSHI. Does anybody have any other questions? TOSHI right now. Strong position in a bearish market, my opinion. Weakness starts appearing underneath these areas, and then we can start talking about the next weakness, which will be underneath a little about right here. Okay, and questions going once, TOSHI. Questions going twice, TOSHI. Right about there underneath the leveled out parabolic. Okay, if I don't have any questions, I'll move on. Okay, that's a comprehensive map for this crypto. And let's move on. Okay, well, I'll do TROLL.RUN. TROLL.RUN is the one on, not Troll, but TROLL.RUN. It is on MEX. It is the Troll crypto on MEX. I like Troll. And one of the ways you can find it, we're going to type the word Troll, and it will show one on the MEX exchange. It should be that one, right? Oh, it's Troll. Did they change the name on it? Ah, here it is. That one. And it looks like that face, that little face marker. And here it is. Professional buying identified. The oscillation between this area and this area right here. duplicated to the bottom gives us this number, 18.0E. This is from our previous sessions. The larger trade triggers here, this is when this is going to start going in a positive way. I really like the professional money that is being identified in this crypto. We can see in the down moves, price, the volume starting to rise in these areas. And then when it comes down, we can start seeing right here on lack of interest. So this is gonna be the end of this specific phase of price moving up. Lack of interest right now. Price comes back down, but then look again at the up move. We start going back up on volume, but look at the volume. It's very mechanical, almost mechanical. We can see the rising of volume. The professionals are starting to pay these prices near 8 zeros for this crypto. So right now here's the price is 8071, here's 8032, and the one what we call for the DP16, it looks like it was hit during the flash crash when I was on vacation. So that's nice. So we can see this is a good area. Somebody may have had low buy orders right there and they got filled. However, we can use the volume to let us know where we should be gravitating towards quite simply. Is this line going to hold? Is this line going to not hold? Let's look at the volume. The volume will tell us almost everything we need to know. Let me make this simple for you by changing the view to a weekly chart, and we'll check the challenge areas. Okay, this is very simple. Okay, although this is not part of the class, I do use this on Wednesdays often. We go down, we challenge that line and go up. Then we challenge the line again and we go up. Then we challenge the line again. We're going to take the averages of these volume areas and label them A, B, and C. A, B, C. It's quite simple. We're trying to understand what are the likelihood that it's going to be now. If we're going to be going up without a health, I could buy now if I wanted to, but there's a chance your line may fail. Using this technique, we can understand with a more probable statistical edge if our lines are going to hold or this is going to break. This is how I told you that XRP should be coming down in price rather than going higher at the moment, because there's too much volume. This is why I got out of my short yesterday for the same price that I paid for it, because there's too much volume to the top side. I don't trust the trade anymore. And this is when you see this kind of weakness, you understand what's happening. The banks can pay the large money, sure, they can pay that, but you don't have the time to wait months and months or weeks and weeks. You don't have the time. One of the better options that you can do for yourself is to read volume and then take your trades in kind when they're supposed to be. For example, if all I did was say, hey, the banks are coming in, all I need to do is wait for an entry. We are not on the side of entry, which is here and above the wick match here. Neither of these entries are triggered. If I'm paying now, I may pay a low price, but I still may suffer if I'm not at an entry. Okay, so you guys had this map for a long time. Now I'm going to show you to read the volume in real time. It's an indicator that populates in real time. So A corresponds to this area right here, and B corresponds to this area right here, and C corresponds to this area right here. Okay. Now, to have a successful buying campaign, there needs to be something that happens by the banks and the professionals who are playing the game. When they're playing the game, they have to have a winning condition, even if they're buying or even if they're selling. In this case, we're measuring for the buyers at this line. We have identified who's playing and what kind of game it is. It's a buying. We saw that. So the big banks are now playing. But how do we identify a winning condition? It starts with an A. Let's hear it, please. Let's hear some volunteers. The word is, starts with an A. What is it? What needs to happen if the professionals are accumulating? What do we need to see? If they're buying in multiple places means they are accumulating. Okay, but there's something that they have to have for them to have a winning condition. Winning condition is going to look like that. Okay, that's my symbol, a little check mark. The losing condition is different. What is the answer? Can somebody unmute your microphone, tell me, or put it in the chat at the very least? Okay, one's a winning condition and one's a losing. Does anybody remember the word for the winning condition? What is it? Okay, the word is absorption. Absorption. Supply must be absorbed. If you're eating food and you want to shut down or change the restaurant's prices to make us demand of supply demand, you have to remove the floating supply. If it's the last steak, then the line ain't gonna get angry until it comes down and removes that. So we need to get to a very little volume in supply to show that the bulk of the floating supply at that area has been won. If the supply has not been removed and there's still too much supply at the challenges, it tells you buyers are losing, not winning. Okay, that means they don't have absorption or control / control. The ways we can tell that they don't have control are the following. 1, 2, 3. They are an increase in volume at the challenges. Number 2, we're going to see aggregately high. Aggregately high is going to be the third one. Number 2 is actually equal volume. Okay, in that order. In other words, if I see that at the challenges of A, B, and C, the relationship is still equal to or even greater than, so A to B is equal to, B to C is greater than, and A to C is greater than or increase. And this means that the buyers, or whoever we're measuring for, is not winning. So in this case, we see a situation like this and like this. So are the buyers winning and able to win the war at this price? Does that make sense? For absorption, we need the following. A winning condition, we would need decrease in volume. Number 2, we would need low volume, which is aggregately low symbol. Okay. Or what I'm now calling number 3, no demand. Now I used to just lump these up together in 1 and 2, but I think it's important in 7.0 to make that difference. No demand. No demand is not just low volume, but almost nothing in the volume. Okay. So if price volume was aggregately low, maybe like that would be an aggregately low, overall low. Okay. Used in really volatile positions. We can now make a proper assertion about who's winning in this game. We know our weakness areas and we know our bullish areas, but we can also see in real time who's more likely to win the battle. The man of the story who bet on the dogs all the time, he would bring the dogs to fight and people would place bets. And he was known for saying, he says, people bet on these dogs and sometimes they win and sometimes they lose, but I always win and I never lose. And they said, how do you always win? And how do you always lose when you bring these dogs to fight? How do you never lose and always only win? And he says, the dog I feed is the one that wins. So before the match, 2-3 days, he would starve one of the dogs, and the dog, even though they looked for the most part the same, one was weaker on the inside. Having this kind of information with volume lets us understand who's really winning and more likely to win in those situations. This is why when we looked at USDT.D, in the charts, I saw that for USDT.D, we should be gravitating higher, especially after that initial flash crash. I saw the volume was much higher than all the other challenge areas. So therefore, we should be gravitating towards the higher areas. If price gravitates to the higher areas, what does it mean for the markets, the crypto markets? If USDT.D is playing up here in these regions, what does it mean? Come on, let's hear it. Put it in the chat. Unmute your microphone. I need some participation. Otherwise, I'm going to start telling some really poor jokes.
Lower prices for crypto.
Lower prices for crypto. That's right. We're going to start seeing lower prices for crypto as things gravitate here. Now, I can't guarantee that, but we can start seeing in the volume a good telling of what's really supposed to happen. Okay, so that's that. Now, as far as troll goes, it's right. Even if the bank's buying, it's still right that we're playing lower. All right? So we have this, our DP. It's hit once. We may hit again. Let's keep that same price. We're going to bring this out over here. Just moving it to the left. 8. Where's the 8? I try to keep the same prices so people don't think I'm changing prices on them without a valid reason. Okay. I want to see this come down. I want to see us come down, and then we can start talking about another entry for this crypto. Okay. Today is October 22nd, 2025. Based on the volume, the professionals have been accumulating this crypto at the challenge area, and I will say this, however, the challenge area of 0.8035 reveals also the buyers are not yet in control. They do not have a winning condition yet. There is too much increase of supply at these areas, which indicated prices should gravitate lower. The projected lower was hit once during the flash crash, and it was on the week of, which week was it? October 6th. Of October 6th week. However, the truth is, it should ideally be hit again, or at the very least, price should gravitate lower. In addition, the health conditions have not been triggered for the down move. Look for this crypto to cook longer. Down angles should be extended and alerts created. I do not expect this to move anytime soon. Okay? Alright. So this is the area based on the volume where prices should be playing. I know that's not because I'm always the bearer of bad news people ask me about. So fantastic money coming into this crypto. Losing buyers tell us it needs to play here longer. Okay, this is where we need to be. Okay, in that circle area. So this is exactly correct. Weakness, okay, that was there is now there, and the health was hit. But just because it's hit, it doesn't mean they're done with it. See the volume? Still increasing at these areas, losing buyers. All right. Any questions before I move on? Okay. I'm going to be looking again here. I'm going to set some alerts. Okay, first I'll set my alert for this week onwards. Here's February 2026. Check troll. Okay, we can check again. The other one I'm going to check is the watch line. So I'm going to go up to this angle, stretch it out. I'm going to watch along there, and then these just need to be stretched out. Okay. If price hits here, I'll know. I can take a look at what's going on. But that's how I am at the moment. Anyone have any other questions? My thoughts on Troll. I can't wait to be able to get this crypto, but if I can get it cheaper, which I can, I'm going to. Fantastic. This is one I want to have for the with seed money. Right after seed money wealth transfer seasons, I want to get into crypto like this. Cryptos that have big money, the big players entering. Oh my gosh. Gonna do fantastic. Not yet. TOSHI neutral to health. Troll should continue bearish for some time. XPIN. As a new crypto, I've never looked at. I don't think I looked at XPIN. They got it on MEX, so let's look it up on the MEX. And we'll go from here. Not much data. Is this fairly new, please? Does anybody know? Crypto.com, August of this year. KuCoin, same.
Yeah, it says it's 2 months old.
Okay. In that case, I'll just use MEX. They look the same in the volume. All right, from a weekly chart, I'll move to a 3-day chart. I don't have much for you. Yeah, I don't got much at all. Some profit taking. Lack of interest. Price only came down on lack of interest. It's a good thing because those are generally indicators of a pullback. If they just go up and they go up just because no one's paying, it doesn't necessarily mean there's a crash or heavy dumping. But with a crypto like this, we don't know because we don't have really much other data. But I can just see that we were just going up and there was no one interested in those prices at the time. Foundational area comes down. We're down for quite a bit. And then we can start seeing some higher volume approximately here, but that may be shakeout or testing in the rising market. They test, the volume's still high, the volume's still high. They challenge one more time, the volume's low, comes down. We come down to these bottoms here. Still no large accumulation or anything like that. And then, but there's a push, and that's a one good thing because we needed the push after that down move. There's the foundational area, it's approximately here, and then there's your move that needs to cross over. So that's your high volume bar right there. That's a good sign. Somebody's wants this higher. Let's check something else too, because I think we had a small wick range in that. Yeah. So we may be going up, volume slowing down. We may be due for another pullback. I would draw a foundational area like that. Like this. So that's probably what I would draw next, and maybe set your alert and make some decisions. I'll put some weaknesses on for you, but that's all I got. Any other questions this crypto? I'll look at RSI since today's going to be an RSI class. But apart from that, I don't think not much more. Yeah, I'm not going to have anything on RSI just yet. It's too new. This bottom it's about the same as this old bottom, so I don't know if I want to use this RSI as a top. If it was a top and you're saying this is lower and this can be more used, then on the 12-hour chart, prices should slow down approximately here based on price base. But in an uptrend, we primarily want to use the lower areas. We want to use the lower areas as our supports in an uptrend. That's going to increase our likelihood. But the other thing we can use, but this is part of principles number in our RSI document. This is going to be principle number 5. I don't know if I want to just view this as a top just yet, because again, of the bottom that I'm measuring for, this is about the same and not really equal to. So I'm not really sure how much weight I want to put on the RSI origin in that sense, which is right here. But if you were, things may slow down for a bit here. Okay. We need weakness to reveal the next intention for RSI, or like that. So right now, that's where I'm at. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for me regarding this crypto? Little data. Okay. Lily asked about the troll. Is that the troll the same as on Troll Soul? No, it shouldn't be. I don't think it is. There is one that is Troll Soul on MEX, and that's that one at the top. That one's just weak. The one I was talking about is the TROLL.RUN. Okay. So that's going to be a different troll. This one, I would want to definitely have a foundational area broke, but we're not going to cover that one today. Okay. All right, let's begin our tutorial. We're going to be covering principles 3 through 5. This is never a financial investment or trading advice of any kind. Everything is just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. I eat red crayons for breakfast. Trading in the markets carries substantial risk. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. Past performance is never indicative performance. And yes, this is my real beard. I did not glue it on. I did not glue it on at all. I had it stitched on, so it's really real. And yeah, stitch. It hurt when they first put it on, and I have to be careful. And yes, it is my real hair. I had it pulled right from my butt. I trimmed it right there, just exactly. It took a long time for them to sew it, but a short time to grow it. If you guys know what I mean. Anyway, is that too much information? No? Yeah, maybe. I gotta wake you guys up. Shovel Day, don't give me that look. All right. RSI principle number 1. This is our current RSI document. I'm giving you guys this as our primary, just a way to have a physical paper form. And I'll have some beautiful slides from these in the future. But I wanted to give you guys this, just let you know principles 1 through 5 in their entirety. So I'm just going to read it. We're going to talk about these principles on how to maximize our effectiveness with RSI. These are the principles I wrote for you guys. RSI principle price base. See tutorial number 6. And our price base, this involves marking the origin of a downtrend in an origin of a top in a downtrend or a bottom in an uptrend, and then marking the corresponding RSI bottom and top in the average color change before the relevant original health. Label and extend the line. This line can be used to signal the next top or next bottom with a high statistical advantage. This needs to be used from a top-down only perspective, so starting with higher time frames, such as 2 month, 1 month, 15-day, 2 week, 1 week, 3 day, 2 day, 1 day, 12 hour, 6 hour, 3 hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes, etc. Okay, so this is principle number 1. We did a whole lesson on it, and we did a whole session for that, how that works. Remember, RSI price base, it looks like this. Okay, we identify an origin point from a low, and from that low of the origin point, we're able to extend this out, waiting for RSI to signal, and we drew it approximately where the color changes or within the range where the color changes. And we start with a high time frame. This works on very high time frames. We saw it work on 3-month chart, monthly charts, and even 1 hour charts, and with a high degree of effectiveness. It points out bottoms. Here's a look at, this is Bitcoin, way in advance, because you can see when prices are coming towards those bottoms, and then we can look for other signs of health to let us be the confirmation. So that's something we can do, and we do this quite often now in our sword method 7.0. So if you missed our lesson, we did a lot of examples in that live session, but I just gave you a few screenshots just from silver, gold, Bitcoin, XRP, and so forth and so on. Okay, letting you know our price base, where that price base origin marker is, and how we can find the RSI markers. Now, then we will go to now principle. So that's principle number 1. We did a whole session on that. Now, principle number 2 is this one, inward divergence. See second half of the tutorial on October 6th. So of that tutorial in October 6th, the inward divergence principle is when we're looking smaller time frames. We're looking for RSI prices, if they're coming down, we're looking for RSI to start moving inward. At the very least, you want it equal to. So you want price will be coming down, but RSI is going to start leveling out to going inwards, and especially in and around that time when prices are going to change. That's going to be very critical for looking at RSI. For example, In this case, you can see a price has been coming down, but RSI starts taking a really significant inward movement at these areas. And that's a good thing that you can have when you're looking for that RSI to give you a good, strong bottom. So we like to see that type of thing happen in the charts. I don't know if there's examples here on this one. This one doesn't have so much good examples, but we may find some today. So we can use that as a principle of using a more micro health. And so when we're looking at that second principle for RSI, we're looking more directly at the bottom move itself, and those you have to generally go inward to see. So today's focus, we're not going to be focusing so much on that principle. That's a very common principle. Other teachers will call it RSI divergence, and that's quite easy to see, but from what we understand, it's more micro. We're concerned about the larger picture, top down. This is going to be a more macro type of thing for the price base, but the price base can be increased in its statistical edge by using and zooming into a smaller time frame and looking for those inward divergence. So in a downtrend, inward; in an uptrend, when price is starting to come down, you will look for an inward. Let me give you a quick example and then we'll move on. So we'll pick a random crypto. Let's pick the crypto we looked at today. Let's look at Troll, not this one, but we'll look at TROLL.RUN, which is Troll on MEX. Should be right here. There it is with that symbol. Okay, all right. And of this area, we saw large professional buying. Let me give you a good example of that type of divergence. Oh no. Here we go. All right, here's a good example. Here's a small move. Now hide it. There's a small down move that resulted in an up move. In our art, we would be looking first for health, which we're going to talk about in just a few moments. But as we look for that health, we can see the RSI is already starting to turn inward. So you can see here in this example, an inward divergence. If you see those into your moves, that gives you a higher advantage of turning into that health. Example, RSI inward divergence. Okay, so RSI inward divergence, that's one way you can use it. You can start looking at these moves. It basically reveals exhaustion. Okay, reveals exhaustion. Okay, lets us know when price is more likely ready to reverse. Okay, so you can see this. Now, this is not always the case, but when you see this, it's a tell. Okay. Do I have any other questions about this? We talked about this a lot in our very first message. We didn't talk too much about it, but there's a lot of information on the internet about this type of divergence. When you see it, it's nice. Okay. Price is going down. RSI is going up. In the top one, RSI may be going up and price may be going up and RSI is going down. In this case, you can see price going up significantly, but RSI only going up a little bit. So RSI starts to level out. Here's another example in the same page that's more clearly. Price is going up. RSI is going down. Let me use white. Okay. If you see the move and it culminates with weakness or weakness or resistance, for the most part, what you're looking at. Do I have any other questions? This going once, going twice. Does this make sense? Okay. Yeah, that's not so bad. Red. Okay, these are examples. All right, let's save that to our photo. Okay. We're ready. Let's continue. Principle number 3. And oh, I thought I locked my computer. I was like, what happened? Principle number 3 is using straight key angles for weakness and health. Now, we already discussed this one last Wednesday. We spent a lot of time using this principle. Using straight angles, key angles for weakness or health. And what I wrote is over the week, just wanted to lump these all in one, all the health in one area, because basically it roots down to just using key angles for health or weakness. I think we need to just update that for health and weakness. Using health or weakness, and I'm going to put using angles. Okay, or any key angle. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to change that. Using angles for health or weakness. Okay, and what I mean, last week we started with key angles, which include the key angle family. So I said key angle family lines include key angles, phantoms, mid-phantoms, DP, or any foundational watch lines, etc. So any of the straight angles that we draw on a weekly basis, any of the ones that are found in 5.0 and 6.0 series, and how to draw those, which is not for the scope of today. All of those angles should be used with health and weakness. Okay, which when we're doing health and weakness, we're just drawing circles on almost any of our lines. So here's our lines. We can see like baby Pepe measured in wrapped ether. We talked about weakness, this being a weakness area for this crypto. I'm more looking for a crypto like this to come down based on its territory. If we're drawing those weaknesses on the underside of a line, we can see that we're looking primarily for us to reverse, and if price builds above there, we're looking for that to be a health. For every time you draw one of these angles, almost always you can draw the opposite color on the opposite side of the line that you attach it to. So here we're attaching this red. This really should be green above here, and that means that once we get above here, we're looking to go up, and those are going to be weakness and resistance. Here's another weakness. That means that we're measuring this foundational area. Once we get into that area, we're looking for weakness to appear if price does go. So we can bounce along that line, we can go up, but when we fade into that, we're more looking for prices to fall. That's the whole concept behind weakness and resistance. Here's that short I was taking last week on a crypto called Prove. And you can see that I'm looking for price to build below 73 cents. I'm looking for price to build above 88 cents, but primarily I'm looking to go down. I let you guys know yesterday because of the volume, I got out of that trade because the volume on the top side was telling us we probably should be playing here a little bit longer, so it's going to waste my time. And I don't like to have that much risk at the moment. So those are the kind of ways we can use weakness and resistance. Here's a down move, baby Doge. I'm looking for a baby Doge to clear here. If the volume can hold, then we can, I have to look at this again, but right now, oh yeah, we looked at the volume. It's not really expecting it to go down so far into these areas. That would be more unexpected. I'm more looking for a break above this area. Okay, so that's how you can use health and resistance on health and resistance. And that's principle number 3A, and I did this in A, B, and C. So for A, again, I wrote the key angle family. For confirmation of the RSI price-based tops and bottoms, heavy emphasis should be placed on foundational areas of all relevant legs, moves up or down. So next is we're using health and resistance with heavy emphasis on foundational areas. Let me give you an example. Let's pick a random crypto. Let's see. Somebody give me a random crypto in the chat, please. Okay. Come on. Throw a crypto in there. ETN. Good God. Not good God, but good. God is good. I said good God. Sound like good God. But he's a good God. And that's a tongue twister. Foundational areas. Very powerful. If you're not using foundational areas, you're missing out. Foundational areas reveal a huge amount of data. Okay, so foundational areas tell us, for example, based on the energy. Let me hide this line. Okay, based on what we're looking at, anytime you have an up move or a down move, pay attention to how it starts in the foundational area. It gives you a lot of information. If the move is a down move, pay attention to the angles that you can draw from the top. For example, of ETN, in this current state, it's in a downtrend. Of the downtrend, we can see that we have a top here and a top here, and those are our energy centers. This forms a foundational area. That means that from now on, for whatever it does, even if it comes there, we're going to pay attention to how the move started. So the foundational areas let us know an important piece of information. Okay, I call these foundational areas. And they can be wide, they can be small, but generally they're going to be wide. Foundational areas, can be wide or short, but they are the important beginning energy centers. Got it? So the important energy centers. So this would be a foundational area up here. If we wanted to, I can just quickly add a little arrow, and I'll put one so you guys can understand what it is I'm trying to show. Okay. And let's make 2 of those so you guys can see them snapping on. I guess it is. All right, one moment. Good. Ah, there we go. Perfect. Here's another foundational area example. I'll give you a larger one for the same crypto. If the move is down, there's our foundational area. Okay? Simple. There's our top energy center. Right here. Here's our energy center. Here's our energy center. It gives us, at a glance, the move, and then we just extend the move down. Okay? So, it's quite simple. Foundational areas. Anybody have any questions regarding these basics? Foundational areas. Gives us the important beginning information. It lets us know in the future when things are more likely to start changing. In these cases, health is starting to appear. All right, there we go. Foundational areas give us a big clue, again, about what we're really looking at for the move. If you're not using them, you're missing out on a very powerful piece of information. Foundational areas set the tempo for the entire leg / move. It lets us know powerful information. All right. Informations. It lets us know informations. As I said, English is only my first language. Please be gentle with me. Okay, got it? No questions so far? All right, let's continue moving on with our RSI principles document. Next, in number 3, the next part is using flat family lines. So we got our key angle families, okay, key angle family lines, and they include the following. But we also have flat family lines, which include multi-touch flat, sword cuts, thunder cuts, mid phantoms, step ups, alike. So this is all the flat stuff. We can use these in conjunction with our RSI price base. What we're doing here, if you guys are just tuning in, we are giving you the RSI. If you are just flying only with RSI and you wanted a method to place appropriate map strategies just using this, you would want to use these techniques that are in this document for your RSI method. Okay, but this is sword method, so we're using everything in its entirety. But these are the tools from sword method that expound on RSI. So again, using principle number 3 is using angles for weakness or health. Okay. And then you're going to be looking at, of those health, key angles, flats, and then number 3, parabolics and gesture lines. So we're going to focus today. I want to focus a lot on this part if I can for just a bit. And then we're going to go to the principles 4 and then principles 5. Principle 6 I did not place on here just yet. It's a little bit advanced. So I want to make sure that all of this, you guys have really a proper record of this teaching. Okay, flat families, we understand that we do flats all the time in a sword method. When we identify we have a specific modules for all of these flats. We have specific modules in our 6.0 series that are available for viewing sword cuts, thunder cuts. Just type in lessons on our lessons page. You'll see one for thunder cuts. And in our key angle families, that are flats, we have mid phantom, phantom, and the step ups module, which we teach about step ups when we cross over from one side or the other. So you can use all of these also in conjunction with your RSI for the healths. And finally, number C of principle number 3, parabolics and gesture lines for health. And parabolics and gesture lines is what I want to focus on for the next few minutes, and then we're going to continue with this lesson. So let's give me another random crypto, please. Maybe 2 or 3 random cryptos. Put some cryptos in the chat, and I'm going to show you in real time so you guys know I'm not just making it up. We're going to do the gesture technique in conjunction with parabolics. So instead of in the past where I would teach them separate, I want to show you a new thing, how they will really operate in tandem together, and you can use those powerfully. I got Ethereum, so we're going to look up Ethereum. Now, what I want to teach you we already taught a gesture in a lesson on gesture, so if you guys want more information about gesture, use that. Now I'm going to show you how we can use these in tandem like a powerful weapon in an area where we use RSI. So we're going to start with Ethereum and then we're going to go to RSI. Let me load a fresh chart because I don't want stuff in my way. I'm going to load RSI price base. All right, so I already got a fresh price base thing going on here, and we don't need volume for, so we'll use this techniques. All right, so let's look at RSI. We have a top here, and let's see. Okay, good. Of this top, we can see and mark the origin point for our price base, and we're going to change this yellow, and I'm going to mark this top. Okay, so this will be our origin for the price base, and it's October 20th 2025. This is a 1-hour chart, and that same information I'm just going to copy and paste here. So we are a 1-hour chart on Ethereum, and we got our origin here. This is our top. We can see we came down, and if all we had was this data, we would have price base. Okay, so this price base, I'm going to make it a little bit, yeah, that's good. Okay, it's about where the color change should go, so it needs to come a little bit lower, and it's about there, right? All right, so that's our price base. Now, if all we had was this, we can use this in a powerful way. We'd want to do a top-down perspective, but I'm just using this already as an example. But this tells us approximately at October 21st, we were signaling another top may be coming in. So RSI price base tells us we might be looking at a top here. All right, so that's where we would have triggered. Now I'm going to put this to the left, and then I'm going to put a little marker here to indicate when we triggered. October 21st, 2 p.m. Okay, so now we can look and see the corresponding marker for RSI, and it's somewhere here. RSI marker. All right. Would we or would we have not taken this trade? Using the gesture technique and parabolic, we can gain some important information. For example, we don't have this top yet, but looking to possibly short, we can see one might be coming into the market. I already showed you guys based on RSI price base. The next thing that we're looking for before hitting this line is to draw the gesture and the parabolic. Now the parabolic is quite simple. The parabolic is based on the bottom up move. So we can start here at a core. I'm going to put one here, and I'm going to put the other here. We're basically going to draw a line that extends out and touches those 3 points. So it lets us know, hey, at the very least, this area is an area of weakness. So we'd use that. Now, if we were continuing it up, it would be like something like that. So this area, based on the parabolic, tells us what? What does this tell us when price is touching this bar? Somebody tell me what it means if RSI is signaling and the parabolic or the up move is being broken. What is it telling us? Anyone there? Anyone paying attention? Okay. All right, quiet crowd today. It is telling us this also is an area of weakness. That's what it's telling us. We're rounding on the underside of this angle. This is negative information for us. What the heck are we doing stopping right here, and then we get a signal on RSI price base? Does this make sense? So this is telling us already this is a negative area. So first sign of weakness, we're seeing this. Now let me add some text for context. I like what I did there. After drawing the origin point, we can see on, when was the 21st? Today's the 22nd. We can see on Tuesday that RSI was signaling a top. However, price also showed confirmation by building underneath the yellow parabolic. Okay, so that's the first thing I want you to see. Okay, so we got case number one. We got one reason to trade on Tuesday. Number one. Number two, price showed confirmation. Now this is our parabolic. I'm now going to show you the gesture. The gesture is an artistic line that's done by taking the move in its entirety and giving us the center line. So all we're trying to do is find the center line. Okay, I'm going to give you an example real quick. Here, pull one up. Okay. Here's an image. Okay. This is what gesture is in art. Complicated images simplified to simplistic shapes. In this case, the pose is this dynamic. All the art do is coming down the center line and trying to capture just the gesture. Artists who are painting or doing complicated images and only have a few seconds, if they're good, they'll first draw the gesture line and then they're just drawing. Here they're not even drawing the full leg, but you can understand, even though it's just some scribbles, you can understand what's really happening here. You can see the person in their fluid form is very smooth here, but the gestures are just very simplistic. Okay, here's your hips, here's the torso and head in the alignment, and there's what the hands are doing. If I was to draw one for the leg, I would draw a line like that. But basically a few simple shapes is what's needed. So gesture gets you most of the way of where you're there. Complicated images made simple. Does everybody understand that? Okay, does that make sense? Okay, complicated images made simple is what gesture is. Okay, and I'm going to put that in the notes here so you guys make sure you have that. Complicated images made simple. Got it? Okay. Gesture, in part of principle number 3, is super powerful in the sense that it gives you what you need if you know what you're looking for. And I'm going to show you how you can use it to build a very powerful map. If in our tool, we like to use this tool, instead of using the basic parabolic, we use the double S curve. It's called double S. Okay. And I'll show you, make sure I write that down, because here I had it as polyline, but it's actually double S. I knew before class, I said it has a different name, double S, line tool. Okay. So if I have that double S, I want to add it to my favorites. And what I'm going to do, you can see it's added right here. Click on this line, and I like to start somewhere on this side and end somewhere on that side. Okay. Let's fade away these so you guys can have a better focus on this. Start here, somewhere to the left, end here, somewhere to the right. Gesture helps us understand parabolics even when there's no parabolic to be had. Once we have this, now we're going to tighten the angle to find the center. That's going to be step number 2. So we're trying to find the center, but the reason I like the S line, we can move the dot along the side, make them tighter together, farther together, but I can get more control over the line with the double S. Okay? It lets us know now the center line, and we're trying to find the center. Okay? Start to the left, and I'm going to put this in the corner. Gesture. And there's a whole tutorial on this one, but I love to I really wanted to focus on this one for Wednesday. Start to the left, end to the right. Try to find the center of the leg. Okay, this is the big takeaway for gesture. We're trying to find the center of the leg with gesture. In this case, it's approximately here. Now, then we're going to confirm it. Okay, to confirm this leg, we're going to duplicate and place 50% on top. We need one top, and it needs to balance on the other side, as if it's the center. To find the gesture weakness and health, duplicate the line and move it to the top or bottom, then duplicate again. The line should be 50% approximately on top and bottom. I'm going to show you. So if we do this, I'm going to duplicate it and move it straight up and down, not to the left or to the right. That's about 50%. Okay, that's to the top. Now I'm going to duplicate this line by measuring. Okay, take my measure line the same way we do the parabolic key angle families. Then I'm going to duplicate the line again. And there. We should have one verification. There should be one verification at least for a solid, for a good confirmation that your center gesture line is correct. Okay, so in this case it's something like this. I'm going to write with some crayons. Here's our gesture line. Here is going to be top. Then we placed it here. Place here. Measure here. Move and duplicate to the bottom. This is the same way. And remember, these got to be aligned. Okay. Now we've done this tons of times. We do this all the time. That's not how you spell aligned. How do you spell aligned? Aligned. Okay. Okay. So all we're doing is 50% on top and 15% on bottom. You guys remember this is super simple. Don't be afraid. This is just an art. If you can do this, it's going to reveal a powerful piece of information. The key takeaways is you need to duplicate your line, your top and bottom. This reveals the oscillation. Okay, gesture reveals a real oscillation. A real and more fluid oscillation. Okay. So with this, we can really view the gesture line telling us the weakness even without the parabolic that we had. So even if we never had it, the parabolic, this was giving us the same information, wasn't it? Did you see that? If I never had that and all I had was just this going on, I can get this in advance. I did XRP on a minute chart using this. It was powerful. This is a 1 hour chart. I just pulled this up randomly. You guys asked me to. You all saw me do this live, right? Am I making this stuff up? You guys can do this technique all the time if you want to. It can get pretty advanced. You can go quick if you want, but it's going to start giving you some powerful information. Health, weakness. I'll give you some more. I'm going to draw them really quick, but I just want you to, before I draw that, I'm going to just take a good screenshot. Okay? Does everybody understand so far what I'm doing here with gesture? And now we're going to do parabolic together with gesture. Let's do one more here on this move. This is a really good one. For right now, I'm going to fade these ones away. I want to find a better example to overlap parabolic with gesture. So from now on, let's use light blue for gesture for this part of the tutorial. We're going to go do it again. Here's my polyline. I'm going to start here. I'm going to end somewhere here. Let's bring back the opacity. Let's use blue. Here's our solid gesture line. It's going to be somewhere approximately here. And gesture lines are very adaptive and need to be adapted as price moves on because they are more based on the center. So as you get wild swings, you need to adapt them more. I'm going to put that in there in the notes too. Gesture lines do, however, need to be adapted more than general parabolics. Okay, that's a solid difference. So once I have this line, that's about center, yeah? Okay, we're going to duplicate it. I'm going to take one and I'm just going to make it dotted. Okay, place it there. We're going to duplicate we're going to measure for that distance. They're in alignment, right? So they should be about alignment. Then I'm going to take a measuring line. Okay, that distance. Bring it straight down. Duplicate the parabolic. And I'm looking for price to give me a verification after I do this. So we're going to move it straight there, and there it is. We can click it in place. Do I have a verification on the line? If so, where is it? I actually have two. Where is it? Okay, good job, Jeff. That's right. So we drew it here. Again, this is going to be our gesture line. Gesture. That's going to be our gesture origin. Okay, and somewhere here. We placed it here as the energy center. Okay. We hit approximately a few times, so that's about what we want. Then we measured for 50%. Okay, so we actually measured that. 50%, 50%. And we knew it was 50% when we were hitting this. So that's our verification. So that lets us know that for the most part, the oscillation is correct. Remember, we're measuring for true, more real, fluid oscillations. Okay? We actually hit another one approximately here. So that's even better. According to this gesture, where is the health? Okay, I'm going to make the screen big. Show me where the health is according to this gesture line in the family. Okay. Draw it on my chart, please. When does it tell us price is supposed to be more rising? Tell me. Nobody? Okay. The answer is here. Where's the weakness? The weakness is here. Of the oscillation, all of this is normal. Does that make sense? All of that is normal. Things change here. That's when things have a chance. That's when we have a more statistical edge than getting whipsawed. Here, we can still come back down, can't we? But if we phase into health, it's telling us, hey, maybe price is ready to rise. And it was. Does that make sense? Okay. Are you guys still with me? You understand how this works? See how valuable gesture is? I don't know of any program. I'm looking because most of moving averages function this way. However, moving averages only function really either short term or really long term. I would love an adaptable moving average, a moving average where I can just pick a spot and say, okay, find the moving average between there and there only. it would automatically make a gesture line, because it maybe one day I'll find an indicator that's like that or something like that. But right now, for now, we use our art and this double S line. Okay, this is Ethereum on a 1 hour chart. Okay, I'm showing you live how this works. Okay, this was just this week. Okay, this is the 11th, 17th, and that was the one we did earlier right now with the short, October 21st to October 17th. So these are very powerful things you can use to start understanding what's happening. All right, you guys, do you feel you got it? Do you want another example? Yes or no? Are you ready? You want me to move on? Please tell me what you want. Okay. I have a tutorial with gesture, but I don't mind doing more. It's a very powerful technique. I'm going to do one more because we can go. Okay. Jeff says yes. Thank you, Jeff. Okay. He says Hess. Hess is, maybe he's calling me Hess. Isn't that one of the guys from Bonanza? Dun, 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 dun. Now, I picked just an example of this, and I told you guys I want you to work in tandem, so we're going to work in tandem. So I said using the parabolic and gesture lines, let's copy and paste those notes that I added just for this. And we're going to add this to this document, and then we'll go on. Now, I said it would be nice to do them in tandem, and then we can do this with RSI. So if we were developing a whole trading methodology based on just RSI, if you can add the principles within this document, that'd be very powerful. Okay, so remember, principle 1, 2, 3, this is 3C, gesture. Then we're going to move on to 4 and 5 going on today. I'm almost done, but let's show you the standard parabolic on that same. So if I was drawing to the standard parabolics, which I often do on Saturdays to keep things light, it would be something like that. Okay, so there's going to be my down parabolic, and this is going to reveal also health. In this case, the health is revealed sooner. I'm going to write this down. Blue. In this example, in blue, for gesture, we can see the health on October 18th. However, using standard parabolic revealed the health sooner on October 17th. This is not always the case, but used in tandem can reveal a stronger confirmation. Okay, so now we can say where Jason, we had a health, would we have bought this crypto using RSI? We would want to look at the previous bottom for this origin and see, since we didn't make any, since we didn't really make a new high at that time, but this bottom was a very strong bottom. Could we have used it? Let's look at RSI and see if it would have given us any signals. Here the RSI origin would have been one of two places. It would have been here on this 1 hour chart, and we would have saw that we did not have a signal here at this area, and I don't think we're going to have a signal for this one. Let's go to a 2 and a 4. If we didn't, that's okay, because there's a way we could have, and I'm going to show it to you in principle number 6. And yeah, principle number 6 is going to be a very powerful one, but we can't show it to you today. It's too much for you and too much for me to teach in this moment. So I don't have a proper RSI entry using price base. Do we have principle number 2, the inward divergence on this area? No, we don't really do. Although this is small, one might make the case that this is slowing down. We don't have an entry on a 2 hour chart, and we don't have an entry on a 1 hour chart. But 1 hour chart price is coming down, RSI is now going to the side. That might be where we're starting to look for the entry. So this is going to be telling us, hey, it might be good. Now, as a quick demonstration, for the principle, we're going to be talking about using a naked origin point. If you think there's a bottom and there's a bottom forming and you don't have a direct correspondence to number 2, I'm going to be showing you guys that in just a bit. If you don't have an origin for number 2, we're going to be using the gesture techniques beforehand to indicate very powerful things. In this case, we're going to be using the gesture technique on RSI itself. Again, this is just a preview. It's kind of advanced, but you guys are going to learn it. We just do the gesture here, then we're going to duplicate the angles, and it's going to reveal the important areas or the flow when those health will come in. The other things we're going to be doing is just marking the parabolic. So both of those areas are going to start giving us really where we're starting to look. So if I do have a health, but I'm not exactly bouncing on my normal trigger for RSI, this is how I can get an advanced signal. But we're going to get to that later on in the, I don't know if it's next week or the following week, but either next week or the following week, we're going to be doing that specific class. That's a little advanced. Here's another way you can do it for this. You can also use the naked origin point itself and the gesture line and the parabolic line. So ideally, these will be 2 different colors. One will be like that. And what they're going to do is they're going to tell us the important, very important information. Again, I don't want to throw too much at you guys. You'll think it's too complicated, but we'll be doing this step by step in a much slower form. The whole reason I'm going so advanced in RSI right now is because I really want you guys to, I think you're more ready to handle a deeper version of what we can be doing with some of these basic indicators. So if I'm only using one indicator, and I only use one, that and volume really, if you can call it an indicator, we can really extract some very powerful information. So if I can just drill you RSI, 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 you can be seeing things that are very powerful and getting some more advanced entries, advanced observations, advanced clues of what you may be reading. Okay. So anyway, that's for another lesson. For today, we're just keeping things light with the gesture and the parabolic. All right, now let's go to the next part of our document. And that's where we're going to, now that we're done with using health and weakness in flats, in key angles, in gesture, in parabolics, we're now going to move on to principle number 4. And RSI principle number 4 is going to be found right here. Come. And principle number 4, I said using RSI pullbacks during downtrends. Now, just like gesture has its own videos that you guys can type in gesture on our lessons page in our 6.0 series, you're going to type in gesture. Just like you can see gesture, you can also see the RSI pullback. So I don't want to spend too much time with RSI pullbacks, but I did want to mention this. I said this indicates momentum, and relevant lessons on this have been filmed in Sword Method 6.0 series in the lessons page. Oh, since I copied and moved that gesture, I can delete that. Good. Okay. I want to put this. Gesture RSI pullbacks are actually somewhat built in to RSI price base. Okay, they have a lot of similar overlap, which you'll see in just a moment. So let's just go quickly over example. Again, somebody give me a random crypto that we're going to need, since we're not using gesture line anymore. So we'll turn off our gesture line image and watch this video for that gesture tutorial that I gave you guys from today. And I hope those images help you. If you're just showing up, these are going to be the techniques we're talking about from the gesture series. Okay, all of those will be included today, and I hope that helps. Okay, using parabolics with gestures in tandem. Now, before we finish for today, I'm gonna cover quickly number 4, which was the RSI pullbacks. Most of this is built in to the RSI price base. So I asked for a random crypto. Let's go with the next one. It was XDC. XDC. So XDC, USD. And here we go. So this one is a hourly chart. I don't like to use gesture on, sorry, which one? Pullbacks. Oh, we can use this on an hourly chart. Okay, so what we're going to do is when we're measuring for RSI pullbacks, we like to, I'll start with the higher. Yeah, that's a good one. What we like to do is I like to see, as price is going down, we want RSI to come back higher at the swing tops. In this case, we can see we have a top here, and then we got a top here. Maybe I'm going to just be very liberal with this, but basically it's going to be here and maybe that. Okay, we can use this one. Even though these are going down in their direction, RSI should be pulling back for those locations, and this would be the pullback principle for RSI. So let's pull up RSI, and we're going to need to smooth things out. So let's go to a 2-hour chart, because we got way too much data. Otherwise, I'm going to zoom really in. 3-hour. Let's go to 4. Okay. I really want to use the swings in their more proper area, but this will work. So you can see that price is moving down, and we move down to approximately here and pull back up to only maybe these tops here. But for the same area, RSI came down here and pulled back almost to 90, maybe 80 to 90%. Price pulls back only 10%, maybe 10 to 20%, and RSI pulls back to 80. If you see that and it culminates with weaknesses, in this case maybe your weaknesses will be here at the flat, then that tells you that your RSI is pulling back to trigger price. Now, we talk about RSI pullbacks all the time, and that one is in our RSI section because that's all we talk about in RSI, but more proper name for it is RSI pullbacks. Let's give you another example here. Let's give you some more. We'll use these two areas. Let's go to I generally like to do this on a top-down perspective so I can smooth out. See if I can find a quick example for you. Good. Here's another example. We'll go to a daily chart for this. It should be right here. All right. So here you can see from our first top for XDC in January, and then this top that was approximately here in January 31st, the move in January was letting us know we were looking at a bearish area. There's our foundational area somewhere here. And there was our weakness. And here was our first top and our weakness. Of those two areas, RSI was approximately here. Okay, the relative location for RSI is the same here. And though price only pulled back in a quantifiable number, approximately 50%, RSI had pulled back how much percent? What's the percentage? What's the quantifiable number? Somebody?
100%.
100%. Maybe 101%. But to keep things simple, 100%. So in this case, RSI was pulling back. The one that pulls back fires the other in the opposite direction. So in this case, RSI is pulling price to slam it down with more momentum. RSI pullbacks reveal momentum, and that's why I really like them. Okay, so RSI pullbacks reveal momentum. The one that pulls back brings the other down / brings the other in the direction of the snap. In this example, XDC showed RSI pulling back in August. When it did, the downside should be a stronger move for price. When it is price that pulls back, then the indicator is reset. So sometimes it's just RSI that needs to reset, and sometimes it's the price itself that will reset. Let me give you an example of the RSI of price pulling back and RSI resetting. Okay, let me move here. This will be probably a good area for us. Yeah, that's a good example. In this area, you can see price is pulling harder and RSI is only moving flat. So in this case, price pulls back and resets RSI. So RSI is the one that should move down. We know this because we know this when it's confirmed weakness. So in this case here, I should say more draw like an arrow like that. RSI should be moving towards the downside. So if you're ever looking for when you should be oscillating backwards, use those moments and you can see which ones are actually pulling back the other. Okay. All right, let's give me one more bearish example. I want a stronger pullback, so let's use some stronger swings. Let's go to some weekly charts. Yeah, there's going to be some good swings here. Here's a good thing for XDC. So XDC, here's a larger weekly chart view for XDC. We have this bottom here. We have this bottom here. We have our health here. We have our health here on the weekly chart. So we're talking about 2020 and we're talking 2023. All right, so when we start saying, hey, may have a chance, when we look at RSI's relative areas are here and here. In this case, you can see that price has pulled back how much? Let's quantify it. Let's do it together. How far did price pull back on this move down? This would be 100%. So how far did price pull down here? Okay, after this we'll move on to the last principle and finish our tutorial for today. How far? Give me a number. Nobody? How far is this?
70.
70%? Let's measure. So halfway is about 50%, right? A move down here would be 100% all the way move back 100%. What's half between 50 and 100? 75. What's half between 0 and 50? 25. What's half between 25 and 50? About 45, right? Maybe 40. So we're looking actually at 40% is the one that wins. Now, the reason it's important to quantify it is so that we can know in the same area how much price is doing. So here, a move back here would be 100%. How far would a move here be? Give me a quantifiable number I can grade this on. Okay, it doesn't have to be super accurate. 130, that's right. So about 130. I like that number. Maybe about 130. If you were trying to be accurate, really accurate, just take your half distances and duplicate them to the bottom side. So I know like right here would be a 150. So really this number 130 is okay, but it may be even more. Okay. So we're knowing in this case RSI has pulled back price is only pulled back 40, but RSI is pulling 130%. What does that mean for the health in these general areas or in this structure here? What does it mean for the health? Is that bullish or bearish when RSI is pulling back? Bullish or bearish? You guys learn this, you're going to be really more proficient with RSI. Okay. What is it? Okay, the answer is bullish. In this example, price pulled back only 40%. However, what is this not doing? RSI pulled back an amazing 130%. This means that RSI is trying to snap price back into place with a large move on the weekly charts. This area needed to be confirmed by the health shown in green in 2023 and marked a major round bottom structure here. Okay, so that large bottom, that large round structure is being built on XDC because of this. This is why I like XDC more than I like XLM at the moment, because of the bullish indications that I keep getting on cryptos like XDC, XL, and XRP. You can see in the volume, professional accumulation, you can see things like that. If I wanted to go a little bit further, I could absolutely easily draw more health in these areas, but we don't need to get all that far for today, okay? Because that's not for the scope of right now. But just as little clues, you guys can do those yourself, okay? So larger round structures here, fantastic. Take screenshots if you need so that you can further solidify your learning, your comprehension of what these principles of RSI are teaching and what RSI, a simple indicator, is revealing. Again, we use the simple neural network quant to transform RSI, and we turn off bar coloring. Okay, so principle number 4 that will be added to our 7.0 series is going to be the using pullbacks. This indicates momentum, and relevant lessons for this have been filmed in Sword Method 6.0 series in the lessons page. Search RSI pullbacks, search bar. So we're looking for RSI. You guys got one of this. We did pass that, and I did see it on our website. Now RSI pullbacks are somewhat built in to price base, and we're going to see more in that in the future as we look at the price base of principle, which is principle number 1. Finally, principle number 5. This is going to be stronger confirmation after origin, higher high, lower low. Stronger confirmation after origin. If we want a stronger confirmation, we're going to be looking for higher highs and higher lows. So let's give me another crypto, and we're going to use some random crypto for this example. So you guys all know I'm not just making this up. Okay, so throw me a crypto or stock, preferably a crypto, something that has volatility, even a forex pair if you want. Okay, Lily, you got the last one, didn't you? So we're gonna do a different one. INJ. I don't know what INJ is, but so let's pick it. Okay, it looks like we did this one before. So here we got INJ, and I'm going to now show you the principle that I'm looking for. All right, so in RSI, so if this is an origin point, and we're going to mark that as our origin point, and I was building this chart, and I'm going to pick the bottom here and just write RSI origin, and then I'm going to mark the price base in the same exact area at the color change. It's going to be right there. We're going to extend this out, and then we're going to be using this as a signal. Okay, if I was using this as a signal, because we now have a new higher high, I can trust with more confidence the origin. And I gave an image for this this past week. So let me see if I can get you the image real quick. And in this past week, I wrote what I was writing about this. Oh man, where's my words? All right, I'll just write it again using this. Okay. And what I'm saying about this is that if you have a new higher high, this is our old high, and we have a higher high, then we can trust the RSI price base with more confidence. Let's add this in our text. If price in an uptrend has a higher high, then the base of origin for RSI can be trusted with more confidence. In a downtrend, if a lower low is formed when measuring the origin top, RSI top, then the signal for another top can also be more trusted. This example is for a new higher high. So therefore, the support as RSI is getting closer may trigger a strong bottom. Okay, so the bottom has not been triggered in this example on this weekly chart. There's no trigger, but sometime in the future, hold on, oops. Sometime in the future, we're going to be looking for a trigger here. Okay, somewhere here. We can see we're almost there, but we're not there yet. So no trigger yet. Okay, but because of higher high, we're looking for a strong information. RSI June 22nd, 2025. Weekly chart. Bottom. I'm going to put this keyword. Looking for entry in the future due to new higher high. All right, let me look at some smaller examples for you. Let's use this smaller one here as an example. Okay, so here we have, let's see, a top, and then we made a low, and then we made a top, and then we made another low. Because we made another low, we'd probably want to have used this top here in the past as more of a stronger confirmation. Let's see, this one would have been right here and not triggered until here. Once we got here, there was our battle, but we were already in health at that time, so we would not have wanted to take this trade at that moment. That would have been approximately where we triggered, so that's not going to be a very strong example for us. We'd be very cautious on taking any shorts at that time. Let's see if we can find something more local for you, something more on this chart. Let's jump all the way down to a daily chart. All right, that's a good one. Okay, we'll use the uptrend, which I probably should be using anyway since this move is so big. Let's go to a 2-day chart, and I'm going to use this center move here, this very move itself. All right, so we have a bottom here, approximately September 23rd, and you can see that because price formed a new high in this channel, we're going to mark that area and use our RSI price base. And we can see that when we trigger this bottom here, it forms a more solid, cohesive bottom in the future because we have a new high. So this is a more solid bottom that was forming for several weeks from April until June of this year. Now it's not a strong bottom, but it can be. You're going to have to do your own homework when it comes to these lines. Of course, not every move is going to be a bottom, but the bottom can be trusted more to stop and to reverse prices when you are forming new highs. Let me give me another crypto. Let me see if I can find one more example. I don't want to force this crypto if it's not giving me too much. Oh, here's another one. Here's another one. Here's a good one. Here's a perfect one, actually. Okay, the next one will be here. We'll mark this one. In this case, we have a top approximately here, and you can see that price is getting lower. We formed a new lower low in this downtrend. We're going to mark the top, and in this downtrend, we can trust more this top when RSI triggers. Now again, you have to do your homework to take any shorts. In this case, we would have wanted to short it approximately on the underside, which was just after October 2nd. Okay, so that would have been a really nice short that I would have liked to have taken. Okay, on Saturday I gave you guys an image like this. So that's what I really want you to, the big takeaway when using RSI price base, you want to focus on the new lower lows, the new higher highs, and then using your relevant health and weakness from principle number 3. All right. Any other questions? Let's do, I think since that was the last one, that's principle number 5. Let's use another crypto as an example, but somebody give me a random crypto. Otherwise, I'm going to use Lily's. Actually, I'll use Lily's already. Doge. No, Lily, sorry. I'll use Bridget's, because you got one, Moira got one, Doge got one. Let me put on my text here. In this example, using RSI principle, RSI price base, and principle number 5, we can see price forming a new low. And this increases the confidence in the tops that may be forming. As always, these need to be read in context and in health and weakness. Okay, so in this case, we're in a downtrend. In this case, we have the weakness appearing here. Tops are forming in these areas. So this is where we would trigger approximately this day. Top triggered in May 22nd. Top triggered May 22nd. And weakness triggered October 16th. The short on this 2-day chart became valid. Man, I wish I could take this trade. And valid. Okay. So this is where that trade would have triggered here. Good. Okay, what was it? Bridget, Doge. Okay, so Bridget will look at Doge, and then I will use that as the example here if we can find a line. So again, this technique works really good in the middle of a trend when you're making new lower lows, new higher highs. So principle number 5. Okay. So this is going to be probably a good place where you want to take a screenshot. This is going to be the bulk of this important information. Okay, take a screenshot if you can. It will also be included in today's guide for the image notes. Okay, that one right here. All right. Actually, we'll use a few of these principles for this last cryptos, these last two, Doge and INJ, just to bring it all home for today's recording in this tutorial. So again, we covered principles 1 through 5. There are principles number 6, but they are advanced, and I'm not going to lay them on you guys until maybe about 2 more weeks, and then we're going to get into the maximization of the origin point, how we can do a naked origin point without waiting for all the other stuff to occur, and getting a good using an advanced gesture line in 2 different ways using RSI. So don't do it alone, but yet let me show you guys a thing or two. Otherwise, you're going to use your creativity and backtest what you're doing with RSI. So we're going to pull up Doge. Let's pull up here. Nope, can't use that one. That's the wrong Doge. Let's go to here. Doge, we'll pull it up on Binance. There we go. That's what we can use. And let's see if we can do something smaller. Okay. Actually, let me make sure I mark out the major health and weakness so you guys can have a basic sense of where we're at. We're going to use that parabolic technique. So we're going to start with our first move, which is the parabolic about there. So this is not a good spot for Doge, in my opinion, based on just this. That's principle number 3 in our document. Okay. Principle number 3 in our document, using health and angles for weakness. Okay. Using health and angles, weakness or health. Okay. So we're going to be using our angles, understanding what tech area we're in. We're in a negative area. Next, we're going to be using health principle number 3C, using parabolics and gesture. So this is 3C. We're going to use both the parabolic there and gesture. The gesture line, we're just going to add it quickly here. I'm going to start somewhere at the top here, and I'm going to bring it down here, and it's going to form, in this case, an angle like that. Okay. Now this is also a type of tiger line, and they're related, as almost everything in our sort method is. Once I bring it on top, I'm going to bring one here all the way, and then I'm going to measure and bring it on the bottom. If I don't got it, which I don't think I do in this case, try again. Okay, in this case we got it. Okay, so there's our verification, and it tells us based on gesture that there's another weakness that is forming now. So this is a very negative area for price. Price should not be here on two accounts. Okay, based on gesture and based on price. Let's add that to the text. Doge is in a negative area on this weekly chart based on gesture and based on the parabolic. Okay, so we can see, and let's put the date, October 22nd. Okay, got it? Now, the next thing we're going to use, let's use some more principles that we see from document, our RSI document. We're going to try to do the price base, which is principle number 1. Okay, so we're going to mark, in this case, we've been in an uptrend for a long time. But if we're marking for tops, let's mark this top here. Okay, if we think we're now in a new territory, we're going to measure for the top here. So I'm going to mark the RSI, and then I'm going to look for more triggers. I might get it on this weekly chart to see an important piece of information. In this case, here's our top. So there's going to be our color change. We're going to pull it there. So I'll mark an origin. Have I triggered another top yet? I have not. Is it possible I may trigger one in the future? It's possible, and it would be nice to know when it happens. Okay. RSI origin. RSI price base. December 2nd, 2024. Weekly. Okay. No trigger yet. No trigger yet. Okay. So on the weekly chart, I have not triggered. Current interval only. Okay. Now I'm going to move down and see if I also have some more information with a different RSI price base. Here on the 3-day chart, nothing. And on the 1-day chart, something. So now I have another RSI here, same top here, and we may just update this. RSI origin 1 day, and here's my top. So according to our RSI price base rules, we continue going down. Here's the time frames: 2 month, then 1 month, 15 day, 2 week, 1 week, 3 day, 2 day, 1 day. So we went down until we found a proper response. Here we're starting to get triggered. Now we have a trigger. The trigger is saying that, hey, there was a recent top supposed to be here. This needs to be confirmed. It's confirmed. The weakness move based on straight angles could confirm it, possibly here. Weakness, and then the next weakness is under there. So this is telling us on 3 accounts now, there's a top here. Okay, now let's add some more here. So based on gesture, there's weakness. That's going to be reason number 1 and 2. Reasons number 1 and 2. Number 3, RSI price base, top into weakness. Top on July 21st. Weakness this month, October 10th. Okay, so now we have reason number 3. Let's go to another part of our RSI. So we did gesture. We looked for weaknesses. We got principle number 2 we can use, inward divergence. Let's look to see if that. Does this move have an inward divergence? No, it does not. RSI is pulling back, which is part of principle number 5. Principle number 4, using RSI pullbacks. So let's look at RSI pullbacks. And RSI pullback will tell us from this top to here, we have pulled back how far on price. Let's do it together. We'll finish up this class. How far did we pull back when we went this far? A move all the way back to 100% would be 100%. How far did we move here? How far did we move to the top? What is it? 60%. Yeah, I would agree. It's something like a little more than half. Maybe we pulled back. Oh yeah, to there, about 60%. So we're gonna say approximately 60%. Now, how far did RSI pull back? It's quite easy. We pulled back 100%. That's why I said that most of the RSI pullback are built into the RSI price base. Okay. So now we can see this is building us momentum to the downside because of the pullback. And I'm going to cut that out right there so I can add this here. Number 4. RSI shows evidence of pullback bearish momentum. This means price pulled. Okay, I don't want to say this means. I'll just tell you what it was. Price pulled back only 60%. RSI pulled back 100%. This indicates price has down momentum if confirmed by the weakness. Okay, and that was confirmed. So there's a lot of movement still downward here. So this is a bearish. This has been confirmed and therefore is more bearish. Okay. Now, ideally, the more powerful pullbacks you have, the more stronger the signal. But that's reason number 4. And then finally, let's finish up with the principle number 5, stronger confirmation after origin, higher high, higher low. And we can also, and I needed to put / lower low, lower high. Lower low, lower high. Actually, I did say that. Higher high and higher low. Yeah, higher highs. Lower lows. That's what I meant to say. Lower lows and higher highs. Yeah, that's a proper way to say that. So we're going to view that from our earlier part of our tutorial. In this scenario, do we have a higher low? No, we do not. Here's our origin. There's our low. We did not go low. So is this top to be treated with super much confidence? At the moment, not as much. The trend needs to change. So there's still hope if things were to maybe build here for after a while. Okay? And that's going to be number 5. You're making a case for and against price. Reason number, and say next evidence. Next evidence, we're going to say RSI does not show signs of a lower low from the origin yet. Therefore, the previous top shown in July may not be a strong top yet. So therefore, we may still be looking to play flat. This indicates there may still be fight in this crypto. Look for the flat to hold, possibly. Okay, so if you see evidences that, oh, maybe, but my top is not, look, we're still not making a higher low, so should I really trust this top? All we did so far is go to the side, so the stop is still here. So I may not be looking for a crash, I may be looking for still things to hold on, even if there's weakness. Do you see how that works? So I might be looking at something like a move like that. Okay. I'll draw it again. We're being honest with our cryptos. Okay, so here's our origin, there's our bottom, but we make a higher high. Okay, that's not what we're looking for. So therefore, if we're looking for a strong short, we can see that this top is not as to be trusted. Not to be fully trusted, or more confidently trusted, because no lower low. Okay, so we can use that to our advantage. So this top may be telling us there's still fight. It may be a top, but really you could be like, what if that happens? And it may. So we can still look, therefore, at more other reasons to find supports. Okay, and right now price is finding support there. Okay, so that's how we can do a full analysis using our RSI document and principles 1 through 5. I caught a few errors in teaching this in my document, so I'm glad to have looked at that. I'm going to put some emphasis for this right now on 14 cents. So if I was trading it right now, I'd probably only want to short this down to 14 cents, and that's it. 0.14 to 13 cents, at least based on this map. Okay. Has everybody got that? How I would be viewing that is something like this. Okay, that's going to be my bet. And then we're going to have to talk. In summary, I would be bearish this crypto, but because of the larger fight, I would look to slow the down move, or stop, or build a bottom, in other words, near 0.14 cents. Current price is 19. I am bearish down towards 14 cents area. Okay, so that's how I can make an assumption about what I think is happening here. Now, if this is a larger uptrend, we could use the RSI principle because we are making a higher high from this previous move and here. So if I say, maybe what if that was my origin and I'm measuring for that move? Am I making a higher high? Yes, I am. Here's my old high and here's my higher high. So I can trust maybe this RSI bottom if it was giving me a signal. Is there a signal happening here? Let's take a look. Here is, let's go to nothing here. We're going to start on a higher time frame. So I'm looking again at this bottom. Is there a bottom triggering here on the higher time frames on a weekly chart here? Yes, this principle is in line with principle number 1, which is to use the top down, and this involves marking the origin in a downtrend, bottom in an uptrend. Since the larger move is an uptrend, this one should be more powerful. So we're going to add that to our report. And this is how you guys can build these reports. Does this one trigger? Yes, it does. So there's our color change. This one triggers approximately here. So we're going to mark, that's our trigger. I'm going to put this on the bottom left. RSI price base, weekly chart. And we triggered, and this one's origin is August 5th. We triggered in March. Triggered bottom in March. This one is in alignment with the trend. So this should be more powerful. This should be more powerful in this example. Okay, powerful. Okay, so I've never looked at this like this. I don't think I have. So we're doing it right now. Live picking these cryptos, showing you the bottoms and tops using the RSI and the principles laid out in the document. So you can see the battle for and against, who's winning, who's losing in real time. So in this case, a bottom here is more likely to win. Now, where's this bottom at? This bottom is here. Right there. So again, we can see why if we're shorting or we're bearish now, we don't want to be bearish for long. We're going to be looking for this. Now, what is this? Does this line up with USDT.D? Does anybody remember? Does this line up with USDT.D? Nobody? Nobody remembers? Yes, it does. That's right. Bearish for only a short season. Let's write that in there. The larger story on the weekly chart shows a proper and more appropriate bottom in March of 2025. This has the higher high principle from the RSI document in sword method number. And what was the lesson for today? This is the higher high principle number 5, filmed today, October 22nd, 2025, in the lessons. It shows that the bottom at 14 cents is more to be trusted to hold than the smaller top at 28 cents. This means at 14 cents, I may seriously consider a bullish buy on Doge. Okay? That's what that means. So we played out both battles, top, bottom, using all the principles found in our RSI document, putting them together. We did price base. We didn't do inward divergence. I didn't really see much of that at the moment here. But let's do that. Look at this. I'm going to show it to you. I'll hide this real quick. I'm going to hide all these lines. Do we have inward divergence at the bottom? Let's see. Overall, yeah. Look at the overall bottom. Look at that. Inward divergence. Price is coming down. RSI is coming up. There's our larger inward divergence there. That's not exactly this bottom, but it's part of the RSI principles when we're reading RSI. Okay? Does it make sense, guys? You guys getting it? Okay, we covered so much today, jam-packed today with the tutorials so you guys can have the principles for you in real life. All the principles found in this document in one example. Okay? All of them are telling us a story. And using this, a whole methodology can be created using sword method and just this one indicator. This is how you can form appropriate reports for what is actually happening. Because cryptos don't just go up, they don't just go down. but they form a lot of important information. And this story is telling me I'm probably going to be more comfortable shorting it here, and I want to come back to it. Now, if you go and combine volume and a lot of other stuff, you're going to be able to find a lot more information. But right now, just using what we learn is important. Okay, so I didn't even cover volume, and you don't really need to cover everything. You just need to cover your bases. All right, do we have any other questions regarding Doge or any of the things I talked about in today's video before I end this recording? Okay. Principles 1 through 5 for RSI. Principles 1 through 5. Yeah, I'm gonna let that. Okay, that's probably more appropriate. Take your picture. All right, I sure do love you guys. Since I don't have any more questions, I will be back on Saturday. Yeah, no, not yet, but I'll end the recording. Any questions regarding our RSI document? How we can use this powerful techniques? Take your screenshot, otherwise download it later. It'll be uploaded. Okay. To a lessons page. Okay. All right. In image notes today. All right, that's all I got for you. Have a great day. I'll be right back to answer any following questions or hear what's the latest news. I'll be right back.